So I've been suffering in many ways, but one of them is adapting to employment and missing the freedom of school. I find myself relaxing, and then all of a sudden,
I hear this
agitating, aggravating
grating
voice. It's capitalism asking me if I'm doing enough, and at the same time, keeping me away from what I really want to do. So I made this. Before I get into what I made, I want to share my inspiration. So I've been into fiber arts recently, like tapestry, weaving, crochet, knitting, and I follow this artist on TikTok. I have to make a video on fiber arts because so much of it is connected with these core principles, and once you see it, you can't really stop seeing it, and it's so wonderful and historic, and it's literally time traveling. But this artist has been crocheting text onto words. Like, she does a lot of stuff with crochet, and it really opened my mind to what's possible with crochet, and I really like putting words on it. I think that's such a beautiful part of weaving in general, and I love the idea of having fabric that says something or has a message or an image. I think that's so cool. So I wanted to make my own. Another thing about me is that I really like museums. I haven't gone to museums recently because of their horrible responses to pro-palestine protests and to their treatment of staff. But in the times I did go for free with your public library. But in the times I did go, I was super inspired by what I saw. I wanted to work in museums too, but you make no money doing it, and I didn't even pass the interview round for an internship I applied for. But at least I got an interview. I was surprised too. One of the artists I saw in Seoul when I was there for studying abroad was Barbara Krueger. It was a whole exhibit of her. She's the lady that Supreme stole from, if you've ever seen the white text on a red background. I honestly thought the exhibit itself was kind of mid because 2D work doesn't really speak to me in a museum space. I prefer sculptural stuff. But one piece really stood out to me, and I also just like her messaging as an artist. Like, you see her commercialize stuff more often, but she actually had a lot of art that spoke about the issues that we are seeing in today's America, like who is free to choose, what is like the law, who is housed, who speaks, who is silenced, and also like pretty anti-imperialist stuff like pro-life for the unborn and pro-death for the born. And it makes sense that you would only see the commercialized stuff. But yeah, this informed a lot of the tapestry that I was making because I really liked this bold messaging that just stated what it was. And this is one of my favorite pieces by her. You construct intricate rituals which allow you to touch the skin of other men. Like, that's literally so true. And like, you know, like the gayness of it all, like that's beautiful. So I know Tumblr used it for the gay ships, but the quote itself is so amazing and speaks to a lot of masculine, misogynist structures that we have in society. So the second artist that informed this piece was Bong Joon Ho, the director. He's behind The Host, a 2006 movie, and Parasite. I loved Parasite, but I'm gonna talk about The Host today because my brother was recently watching it on TV, and I was half watching it, but I got into it because it was just like really engaging. And the summary of the movie is basically these American scientists dispose their chemical waste in the water, which pollutes like the water and turns creatures into these mutant animals that, you know, affect the whole city. And it's centered on this one family, but you should just watch it. But Bong Joon Ho in general is known for critiquing capitalism in his works, and he's also known for being very explicit about it. He doesn't hide what he wants to say, and he's very blunt. But even Parasite still got misconstrued. So like, even if the critics are like, he should be more subtle, I think there is a need for his explicitness, and that's also what I wanted to channel in my own work by literally stating capitalism. The Host really spoke to me because it was about capitalism and specifically imperialism and how the Americans in the story were creating a false narrative about where the creature originated from and how it was affecting people. They created a false pandemic the one we're facing right now is real, but they created a false one and blamed the Asians, the Korean people, for it. And then they unleashed chemical warfare onto them to solve the problem that they caused. But yeah, you should really watch it. I think it really is speaking to a lot of what we're seeing today, and it's just really jarring. Once you see the patterns of oppression, observation can seem like a prediction. Shout out to Octavia Butler, because this was the same thing that happened when people were saying how, like, oh, she predicted the LA fires. Like, no, people just see patterns in how oppression happens and the outcomes of it. In Parasite, you also get this imperialist analysis when the rich family is dressed in, like, native attire, and they're directly antagonizing the poorer character who also has to dress in this garb because he is being told to. But yeah, I feel the driver, and I thought this was a beautiful depiction of the reality of being working class. My next inspiration came from a piece I saw at the M Plus Museum in Hong Kong. I love this museum. I saw so much cool art, and the really cool thing about them is that they have their, like, entire collections on their website. So if you want to see art too, you can literally just go and look it up, and then you'll see it, and there's descriptions and everything, and it's a really great way to just, like, expand your artistic knowledge. But this piece stood out to me because, as you can see by the description, it's a commentary on, like, Chinese society today and how, you know, there's, like, a lot of consumerism nowadays, even though in the past there was an emphasis on, like, socialist ideas, and it's just that juxtaposition between those two, like, opposite concepts of consumerism versus socialism. I also, you know, like, have these similar thoughts about, like, the hypocrisy of us today as we try to, like, criticize capitalism, but we are forced to live in this system. And yeah, I think there's hypocrisy in the piece that I made too, and I'll get into that later, but this was a cool start, and it also inspired the color scheme of red and white. Basically, if I curated a hypothetical exhibit, it would be all of our work in one room. My work is in conversation with them, and I think that's really fun. I also want to draw your attention to these other artists. Like, imagine if there was another room in this exhibit and you walked over. I think these artists would be in that room. So the first artist I want to talk about is Franz, Kafka. Let's go. Sorry, I only read Metamorphosis, but the book really stuck with me. It was such a quick read, and it's a classic, and the whole PDF is available in my description, so you should definitely check it out too. But it's basically about Krueger, who is, like, a working dude in his family, and he turns into a bug one day and he can't work, and he becomes essentially disposable. Yeah, I think Kafka as an artist is really funny to me because he's, like, kind of a sad man. Like, he really reflects a lot of contemporary thoughts that people have about capitalism, about working today. Like, his dad, he had daddy issues, but, like, he didn't like his job, and his dad didn't really, like, approve of him either, and he only really worked to make art. That was where his passion lay. And he was also just, like, a funny, sad little man, which is, like, so relatable. Yeah, he had a lifelong suspicion that other people found him mentally and physically repulsive, and also this. Yeah, what can I say? In the background of my mind, Tetsuya Ishida's work was also informing my art. I saw his exhibit at Wrightwood 659, which is a local gallery, and I loved it. I saw it in 2019, but I still think about it a lot, just because it was, like, so impactful. Like, I was really lucky to have gone because I don't think he's, like, that big of an artist where you can really commonly see his work, but it was really incredible because he has a lot of work, and it's all very cohesive, and the art is physically, like, really big. It's, like, bigger than a standard canvas. It was, like, you know, like 5 feet. It was, like, spread out on all the gallery walls, and again, even though I don't love seeing 2D art in museum spaces, it really spoke to me, and it was just, like, the immense feeling that I saw in his work, the immense emotion. Like, he was depressed. He had depression, and I could only imagine what he was going through to create works that he was making. His work is often about like uniformity and the systems of capitalism and education that he saw and was a victim of in Japan. He ultimately died when a train hit him, but people infer that he committed suicide. And his work is described as Kafkaesque, and you can clearly see the similarities. Like his personality is very similar in a way where he sees himself as a pitiful person, and his work reflects that. Like in the Wikipedia article, his mom got like scared at the work he was making, but he thought it was kind of like funny and like kind of a release. So I don't really know how he actually felt about his art, but you know, it makes me sad looking at it, but it's also important. His work has a lot of like humans and animals and insects, and I think that really speaks to like how capitalism can make people feel like bug-like or small or useless, despite all of us having inherent worth as human beings. I really like this quote: "The violent disfigurement and mutilation of his subjects allegorize the pressures placed upon students and the labor force by Japanese society, the persistent obligation to obtain high salary careers and forced conformity to arduous working conditions." I think like manual labor, like labor that you have to pursue if you don't have the right college degree, is difficult, but I also think there's a degree of difficulty that I've been facing, even just working in the office space. Like I think labor as it is now is entirely unsustainable, and like it really hurts the human psyche, and I think his work beautifully reflects that and how it makes people into like objects, insects, boxes, and it's like this, there's a certain release when seeing his pieces, because you're kind of reflecting that like, oh, someone else feels the same way as I do, if not worse, and there is definitely a problem in the system that we're all forced to endure. The last inspiration is my man Normal SpongeBob. Let's watch a clip.
SpongeBob?
Hi, how are you?
What's the meaning of this?
I took your advice. From now on, I'm normal.
Normal, huh?
Yep,
Oh, really?
yep.
Whatever. I know you're just waiting to say something stupid.
Wonderful weather we're having.
Yes, it is.
Okay, see you around.
It's kind of scary how predictive SpongeBob was and how impactful its work is, even though it's just like, oh, funny kids show. Like, you know, I think it reflects that real human adults were making it and inserting probably their own feelings about life. Like this scene in particular shows the reality of like working in an office and having to kind of put on a persona to be perceived correctly, which is something, you know, like a lot of people, including me, struggled with. I think it speaks a lot about the inherent like performativeness that you have to have when you start working, because you can't really be who you are professionally. You can't be a human being if you want to be a worker, basically. But the Normal SpongeBob episode is something that I low-key think a lot about, because it's exactly like me, like doing work more and trying to be a functional adult makes me feel like I'm becoming more normal.
What happened?
I don't know. I guess I became permanently normal.
Go away! We're boarding!
It's not like I was ever super unique, but it's like I don't want to be normal. I don't want to be normal SpongeBob.
I want to be abnormal again.
A person. I want to be who I uniquely am, and I don't want to like sacrifice my identity to survive. But unfortunately, that's low-key what we have to do. And I think SpongeBob really puts it into like simple terms.
SpongeBob, you're back to your square shape!
Wow! I guess Squidward's normal look scared me back to my original form. Thanks, buddy. You saved my life.
Wonderful weather we're having,
It sure is, buddy.
And these are the conversations I'm trying to have with this piece. Like, in what ways are we losing ourselves because of the system we live in? And in what ways can we preserve ourselves by knowing that this is what's happening. So in my piece, I'm kind of admitting the capitalism that I feel. I'm grappling with the issue that I am facing of feeling like if I'm doing enough professionally. I'm also grappling with like prestige and wanting to compare myself to others who are doing quote unquote better than me. And even though in my heart their successes are not what I want, by creating this, I'm hoping to like realize that for myself and to name it, and to also expel it from me through the handiwork of crochet. Like, I like the physical action, and it feels very symbolic to me to kind of release that evil in this way. As I am entering the workforce and being molded into an adult, I feel like normal SpongeBob, but I'm trying to preserve real SpongeBob. The piece is also self-referential. I had to buy supplies from a big box craft stores to continue making it after I ran out of materials. I had originally started this based on what I had and was reusing from literally the first time that I learned how to crochet. I was reusing that yarn, and I just bought it like from a Michael's or a Joann's. But as I've gotten more into fiber work, I'm prioritizing sustainable materials more, like cotton and wool, but those are expensive. So there's also inherent capitalism in this piece. Like the yarn that I'm using is polyester, and it's not ethically or sustainably sourced or created. I purchased this yarn when I first learned how to crochet, and I kept making and unmaking and frogging it from other things that I just wasn't wearing until it became what it is now. And I think this is kind of good because this is the final form. I only learned about the sustainability and like circular systems of crochet, yarn, fiber art recently. So yeah, that's what I try to use now. And I also just don't like the feeling of polyester yarn, but for this project I just wanted to finish it, so I gave myself that. The inherent capitalism also comes with the fact that I made it with the intention of being seen by a digital audience. Like going into it, I knew I wanted to post it online, but yeah, I hope this can elicit conversation. My dilemma was just like keeping it as sustainable as possible, and like the white yarn is still cotton, so even though it's hard to find, I try to keep it the same. And also, I do work in journalism professionally, and I think about words and copy a lot. So another aspect of this piece is thinking really heavily about the language and what I want to convey. I think the I have capitalism part is very straightforward, but inside me was something I played around with. It's kind of like sexual, but the inherent bodiness, like the inherent violation of like the body that capitalism has, is something that I think is interesting, and I wanted to like kind of include that into this piece, like the idea of capitalism penetrating us as people. Other things that I was thinking about when I was making this is that most often we're reading on our screens. I feel like that doesn't really have an impact. Like we're not thinking about the intentionality that came from an author writing words just because it doesn't feel like there was effort into it. But in textiles, like I had to crochet every single stitch. Like I had to put effort and human energy into every single thing to make those words. So I think it feels so much more impactful than just seeing words on the screen or just typing words on the screen. And that's why I really want to continue making words on textiles and fiber. And obviously the red and white was a nod to both Krueger and Chinese socialist propaganda.